Be happy. Be healthy. Be your best. Be your best.
Today I want to talk to you about a simple hack that can make it where you are flattening your glucose curve. You are making it where when you eat your meals, you are having less of a chance of gaining weight, where you end up benefiting your heart, having more energy. What is the hack that I'm talking about? Well, first we need to talk about what happens when you eat. So when you eat, glucose is fuel for the body, especially for the brain. And so what you will find is that after you eat, that there is something called a glucose curve, which can be measured by tests. There's also an insulin curve. And another one that is not tested but also exists is a fructose curve. Now, it's really, really important to manage these curves properly, because when the glucose curve is very high and the fructose curve is high and the insulin reaction is high, that is where the body goes into where the process with the liver and the bloodstream ends up with things being put into fat cells. And so there's a hack that you can use that makes it where you help this situation as far as what's going on after you eat. And that hack is a simple 10-minute walk. A 10-minute walk. It has so many benefits to the body, and one of the things that it benefits is that glucose curve. Now, why would it affect the glucose curve to take a walk? Why would it affect the insulin response to take a walk? Well, and why would somebody want to put that hack into place? Well, some people are pre-diabetic. Some people are overweight. Some people actually are obese. Some people have heart issues. Some people have joint issues. And a simple 10-minute walk after eating can help with what is contributing to those problems, and even help to start reversing them with some other lifestyle changes. So what does the 10-minute walk do? Well, one of the things in the body that uses a ton of glucose is the muscles in the body. So when somebody eats a food that is, let's say that they have a meal that has a lot of carbs in it, okay? Like maybe they have a pasta meal, or they have a meal that has a lot of mashed potatoes or bread or whatever. And we'll talk another time about some of the other things that you can do to make those have less of an impact on the body. But for now, let's concentrate on the hack that I was talking about. And so what happens? Well, after you eat, the body has to store any of that excess glucose someplace. And so through the insulin response and regulating the levels in the bloodstream, a lot of times what happens is that gets put into handy-dandy suitcases called fat cells. So what does the 10-minute hack do? Well, especially if you get up from a meal and you walk for 10 to 15 minutes, it doesn't have to be a super brisk walk, but it has to be a little bit more than a stroll. Then what happens is the body immediately uses glucose that is stored in your muscles. The muscles are one of the biggest storers of glucose in the body. And so when you take that walk, what happens is as you're going along, you actually have the muscles empty their glucose stores. So guess what happens during those 10 minutes after you eat when you go for a walk? The body takes a lot of what is being converted from the food that you ate, and it actually starts packing it back into the muscles. Now think about what that does. It makes it where instead of having it where immediately your body is looking for more fat cells to pack as a suitcase, it's actually looking at a need in the muscles for something that needs to be burned in order to function. So taking that 10-minute walk after you eat is something that is just highly beneficial towards flattening that glucose curve. There have been studies done by a French lady, and she has a book called The Glucose Revolution, which I highly recommend that you read. You can get it through Amazon. It's also available in Audible, and she has a delightful French accent, and she talks about the many hacks that you can use in order to flatten that glucose curve. She actually took a lot of people that participated in her studies on the hacks that she talks about and had blood draws done. And it shows the curve if somebody doesn't walk after a meal, and shows how much more flattened it is if they take that 10-minute walk after a meal. Now, it can't be a few hours later, but there again, it doesn't have to be that you swallow your last bite and you run through the door. You know, within a half hour or so afterwards, go for that 10-minute walk. And so then what happens? Well, then you flatten your glucose curve. You flatten your insulin, and you make it where you don't end up with as many spikes from these, which can have some really harmful, over time, effects on the body. You're actually going to benefit your heart. Flattening that fructose curve, flattening the glucose curve, getting it where there is not so much of an insulin response is actually much better for the heart. The other thing is that the muscles benefit. The muscles benefit from the fact that you have decided to go and take a walk. They've gotten some exercise. You've gotten some oxygen. You've gotten it where the glucose is emptied out of the muscles and they've gotten refueled from the meal that you just ate. It also benefits the spine. Taking that 10-minute walk after you eat is something that is highly beneficial for the spine, for the nervous system, for the vagus nerve, all of these. You're also going to have less weight gain. Not only can you cut down on the weight gain, but put into practice with some of the other hacks that we will talk about in another episode, you actually can start benefiting the muscles, the heart, the glucose levels, and also start dropping some of those few extra pounds that have been stubborn that you have not been able to lose. It's a very simple hack, but it's highly effective, and it's really good for the body as a whole. So start planning out when you have your meals. Start planning out a 10-minute walk afterwards. Maybe start with one meal a day, maybe the biggest one that you have, maybe dinner. And after dinner, and if you have kids, have them join in with you. Have them get into the good habit of, after they eat a meal, going out and taking a walk also. If it's cold outside, just bundle up. Be careful if it's icy, but take a walk anyway. If it's raining, use an umbrella. Try to get some mental toughness into the situation where you just decide that it's so beneficial for your health to be able to flatten that glucose curve, empty the muscles of that glucose and refill them from what you just ate. And then when you start to see all the other benefits that come along as well, then it's going to be something that will become a habit that you not only put into place that becomes regular, but you actually start looking forward to. So I hope that helps you understand why a 10-minute walk after you eat can be so valuable. If you can do 15 minutes, do 15. If you can do a half an hour, do a half an hour. The studies have shown that 10 minutes is really a very doable number. It's something that almost everybody can fit in, and over a period of time, have it be a regular, highly beneficial habit. So there you go. Encourage you to start at your very next meal. Afterwards, put down your fork, look at the clock, and within about a half an hour, go out the door. Remember, that's the hardest step, is just getting out the front door. Get out the front door and go for a walk. Over a period of time, you will be happy to do it. You'll see the benefits. Your health will improve. The scale will improve. Your energy levels will improve. Your heart will thank you. Your liver will thank you. The whole body will be grateful that you have put one simple, highly effective hack into place in your life. The 10-minute walk after you eat.